meeting is getting recorded. And yeah, so just everything has already been said, but just one more thing I just wanted to add about myself is I have a background of just not working in Canada, but I've also worked in US companies as well as, and my background, I started my career from India, and I kind of moved to Canada almost like 5 years back. So I very much relate to most of the people here, like in a way, like I am just not coming from one particular country, or like I've stayed in one country in my life, but actually I've worked in different countries. That kind of makes my experience a little more diverse. And I come from a technical background, as it's already been said, and I've been working in this technical, like I started off with a shopping vertical that was for Google. That was almost for 3 years. I worked for Google, where I was more managing their shopping vertical. I was basically doing double click search. I was helping them increase their products' visibility in the market, and those kind of things. And that's when I felt like, no, I want to get deep into technology, right? And then I probed deep, and I felt like I want to learn more from a technical standpoint. And that's when I moved to a more technical role with PwC, and I worked in India and Canada in PwC. And then I moved to Capgemini, and I'm going to complete 3 years with Cap in this November. So yeah, so my journey has been a total blend of different tools, technologies. I have worked with people from different industries, and yeah, it's been a great learning. And I've been in Canada for almost more than 5 years, and this 5 years has been great, I would say.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us and super, super impressive, especially, when talking about your career and your journey across the countries and
Mhm.
also happy anniversary to your upcoming in
Yes,
November.
thank you very
So
much. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So then I guess we'll start the questions. So we do have a list of a few questions on behalf of the participants, and also feel free to for our audience, feel free to type your questions in the chat. We will pick them up during this session, and also in the end we'll have a Q&A dedicated Q&A time as well if you would like to unmute yourself to have that direct conversation with Amrita. So my first question is that what started your interest in the tech consulting, and how did your career journey unfold?
So I would say for me, it was a blend of technology and problem solving that initially drew me in. So I started with a passion for technology, but I realized I also enjoyed working directly with clients, like to understand the challenges and find innovative solution. Especially when I was working for Google, I was working with different account managers who were managing different verticals. Say, for example, one of our clients were like Walmart, Target. So these were different account managers I was interacting with, and I felt like with technology, that relationship I had with my clients was really motivating, and it drew me towards the consulting side of things, where I thought just not by technical skills, I can also blend that with my functional skill and be like think from a strategic mind, right? And to come up with solutions, solve problems, and deliver in a more technical plus a very a smart business is what I say in that perspective, like delivering, but also in both the sides, like functional and technical. So I was very much drawn by that, and that's why I decided to go into consulting in a technology role. And then consulting gave me a perfect opportunity to like merge those interests. My career has been a journey of continuous learning, as I already told you. Like starting in more technical roles, and gradually now I'm moving like with Capgemini. I moved towards more of like an engagement manager, project manager, and like a management, more like client focused consulting. That's
Right.
what I'm molding myself into. So yeah, that has been high level. If I put that, it has been a journey of technology, consulting, and strategic delivery role that I am moving into. Yeah.
That's really fascinating. I guess also the key is to find the point or the area that you are passionate about and you can
Yeah.
excel at, and then to further grow from there. So that's really, really amazing. So then my second question is probably
Mhm.
more focusing on, especially for the young professionals in early career, the new graduate students. what do you think will be the key skills and qualities that, company, for example, Capgemini, that they will be looking for when they're doing, for example, campus recruiting and looking for young professionals?
So I think most of the companies that I have realized, and after my interviews as well, I feel like if you know something technically, you're very strong technically, but you don't know how to kind of explain that to the client. Say, for example, I know SQL, just that's a very basic, right? I know SQL, I can manage a database, I can create queries. But then if I don't know how I'm going to utilize that to run a company or to like help the clients or to deliver something, then your knowing about your technology is not that enough, right? If say for example I'm in an interview and they're asking me that my client has lots and lots of data, but I don't know how to manage it, and in that situation, instead of telling an answer like I can use my SQL scripts to understand the data, analyze, do the analytics on that data, and I can basically help you understand what the basic insights from a data. If you don't give that kind of answer and you come and be like, oh, I know SQL, I know this technology, I know that technology, but you can't blend that with the problem solving situation, then that's kind of little, that's what we're not looking for. We want people with technical skill, but they need to understand what is the problem that they're trying to solve, right? What is the purpose of like hiring a person with a technical skill if they don't know how to utilize that technical skill to solve a particular problem? So whenever we are hiring, we see how passionate that person is in doing things that they have done in the college. Say, for example, you did a project when you were in school, and that project was something where you showed your leadership quality. You had your entire team, and you kind of came up with a solution. You did kind of R&D. So there are different aspects that you did. You upskilled yourself. We look forward for people who are enthusiastic with whatever they did. We're not looking you to know everything about the industry. We're not looking you like to know what is happening in the market. We are wanting you to explain how you did your past experience, so that we can understand from that how hardworking you are, how well you understand your work, how well you can use your technical skills to solve problems. And on that basis, we are going to, companies basically hire people, right? In interviews also, we are not looking you to explain everything technically. We want you to explain things like, oh, I did this, that delivered this, or I did this project that made my team come in the second place. Something like a more relative kind of answers. So, like especially in Capgemini, it's not just about technical skills. As I told you, they look for adaptability, strong communication skills, problem-solving abilities, right? So you need to be able to work in teams, handle complex challenges, and think on your feet. Like you have to be very, like you don't like if something happens, you should be spontaneous in your thoughts and how you're going to align to things. Because with clients, they can ask you anything. They can give you back like you said something, and they can say something that you don't know the answer to. So you have to be very smart in that perspective. If something like that happens, how you're going to reply. So we are not wanting you to know the answers, but how you can basically handle that situation, right? So that's what I think companies look for. And also, you need to be able to work in teams. That's the major one thing that we always, in consulting especially, right? We look for people who can work in teams, who can work with colleagues of their level or senior levels, right? Or client side as well. So that is also one of the major thing that we look for, right? And obviously the foundation of technology is very important, right? The ability to understand the client's requirements, the ability to understand the technical side of things, that's like a must. So with the base of technology, everything like adds up. So yeah, so that's what I
Mhm.
think we look for, including
Totally
cap.
agree. Totally agree. That's really, really helpful. I guess a lot of students, especially when they're just we're still at school or just graduating, it's they always think they wanted to impress the company, impress the
Yeah.
employer, so they tend to share some unrealistic experience or tend to exaggerate the experience, which was unnecessary, and also be able to share what you have done in the past and relate it back to your problem solving and critical thinking skills. So that's really, really insightful. Thank you so much for sharing, Amrita.
No worries. Yeah.
So that actually related to my next question because I'm really glad that you mentioned about the technology skills. So then for the for people who might be interested in working in the data-driven consulting roles, what do you think Capgemini or some other consulting companies that they would be more looking at when it comes to the technology side of the skills?
Yeah.
So that's what we call the hard skills.
So, from a technology standpoint, if you are like wanting to master in, like you want to know or go in the field of data analytics or data analysis tools, I would recommend knowing SQL. SQL is the baseline, right? If you want to go into analysis, you need to know SQL. And by SQL, I just don't mean like select star from XYZ table. No, not like that. I want you to know what are joins, what are the different ways you can use your scripting skills to do things, right? How do you do group by, how do you do pivots and stuff? So these are the some of the things when people I have observed, they say they know SQL, but they need to know how to query. Like they should know that skill set because it's really important, because that was the base and then other technologies just came up, right? So that would be one. And then Python is really good because that can help you create your predictive modeling and things like that. And so Python is also very much in the market along with R. So we are doing some, I've seen some companies doing projects still on R, which is also like pretty. So these would be my three, I would say, analysis tools that you should be good with: SQL, Python, and R. From the cloud platform, since cloud is very much in, and with Microsoft, many companies are now tied up with Microsoft. So they are using a lot of Microsoft tools. So AWS is also good to know, but Azure is also very good to know because many companies in Alberta, especially, they are migrating to Azure. So the
Okay.
companies are looking for data engineers from an Azure background. Basically, you should know Databricks or you should know Data Factory and things. So basically, from a cloud side, it's always good to know AWS and Azure both. So if you know AWS, you should be okay with Azure. If you know Azure, you understand the basic of AWS. So that would be my cloud platforms. And from a visualization standpoint, because I lead visualization in Canada for Capgemini, so from a visualization standpoint, I would say Tableau and Power BI. Little bit Power BI more. The only reason why, because it's a Microsoft tool, right? So with the Teams and Outlook and all the Microsoft Azure, like different packages that they have, companies are more inclined to use Power BI because it's a Microsoft tool. Tableau is also being used, but what I've seen or recently observed, like it was there like when I came to Canada, that was in 2019. Tableau was being used a lot, right? That time, the clients that I worked for, they were also using Tableau. But then with my tenure with that particular client, they moved from Tableau to Power BI, and I was managing the migration project. So I have observed many company kind of shifting their visualization tool from Power like to Power BI, and it's more easy to use. It's but it has its own technical side of things, so you need to be thorough about those, and they keep upgrading every year. So just so knowing from visualization standpoint, I would say Tableau and Power BI are my two top tools that they can know. And I think from an ETL standpoint, also, if you want to go on that perspective on cleaning your data and those kind of tools, it is also good to know Alteryx. Alteryx is something that is used by all the big fours. They use it for data cleansing and basically transformation. It's an ETL tool. So they use a lot of that. Informatica is also good to know because many companies are still using Informatica, but just to highlight, they're migrating to cloud, so they are migrating to Azure and using Azure Data Factory or Databricks to migrate. But it's always good to know Informatica because you understand the ETL side of things. And then Snowflake. I have seen recently, like if you know Snowflake, you're like there. If I distribute them into percentage, not many people are skilled in Snowflake I've seen. So if you have that technology skill set, it's going to be really good for you in finding jobs because companies look for people with Snowflake background. So I think from my top technologies from an analytics standpoint, these would be my top few. And if you're going to AI and machine learning, then that's a different story altogether, right? Then you need to know different Gen AI related or machine learning, ML ops, and like there are tons of different ways you can upskill yourself into AI side. So there's a blend of it.
That is super super insightful. Especially, I feel like all the audience here tonight, it's
Mhm.
definitely it's really you're getting the first hand information from an industry, seasoned industry professional about the data analytics, and those are the key tool sets that you probably also want to master if you're looking into either breaking into the data analytics or transitioning into that into the career path. So super helpful. Thank you so much, Amrita. And the other question I actually also have, we talked about the hard skills and soft skills a little bit. And I also noticed that a lot of students are currently, they're trying to build the connections, they're trying to make
Mhm.
the network, build a network for themselves, and they don't know how to start. So from your point of view, how can the students or, the recent graduates build a strong network and make those meaningful connections in the consulting industry?
So I would put it like building a network doesn't necessarily like you require a ton of experience for that. You don't need that, right? So I would say start by searching out to your people you know from your college, like some seniors or people you have worked, like some people you have worked in your internship time or people you have known from your school. Like reach out to those people, attend webinars. Like this is one of them. Like there are different kind of webinars happening right around. There are always like new tools, and like for example I give you Alteryx example. Alteryx conducts some webinar or like even in person connects and meetups. So try and go to these places because you would find people from a great professional background and at a senior level but at a junior level as well. So there are all these events that's happening. Try and go to those events, and joining professional groups online, that also really helps. So when I moved to Canada, I wanted to learn more about what how the Canadian market works. So I did this in-person connects. I was connecting everybody, like I was reaching out to people via LinkedIn, and I was going on coffee chats. The coffee chats is a very common culture in Canada, I've observed. So it's always good. Like sometimes I've seen people send me a text and they be like, "Hi Amrita, my name is this. I have done this much. This is my experience," and a full long paragraph. Not everybody has the time to read through that in your first hi message, right? I would suggest just start off with a normal greeting and see if they have the time to connect with you, like a call or like a coffee chat. And maybe if just from a decent way, if it is okay for me to attach my resume. So then that person feels like, okay, because if I get a hi and a full one paragraph message, I might not read it because I'll be like, this person didn't ask me about myself. He just in one message wrote everything. That's the mindset many people also have. So it's always good to first greet the person, bring them in a conversation, and then maybe offer a coffee chat with them, and or meet them outside, and or be like, can we have a 15 minutes connect? I need to know more about your journey. So these are some of the things that you can do on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is, as I said, is also a great platform that you can use. And now I've seen like companies basically reach out to people via LinkedIn. Recruiters reach out to people via LinkedIn. There are many consulting companies basically are into hiring. They also reach out to LinkedIn. In fact, I was hired to Capgemini via LinkedIn. So I was reached out by one of the consulting firm called Grid Consulting. They reached out to me and they offered me that this is a role with Capgemini, and I was like, yeah, sure. That time I wasn't even looking for a job, but the role was pretty interesting. So I said I'll give it a try, and then today it's been 3 years working as a manager here. So you don't never know what can basically work in your favor. So yeah, so LinkedIn could be another place that I would suggest, but don't be afraid to ask for informational interviews to learn about somebody's career, right? How they grew and how they are like from people from analyst to manager. How did their journey mold into? They have such great insights that you will be like blown away by. I have talked to like so many people in my career, and I feel like the more I talk to newer people, especially younger people, I feel like I learn more from them. And with the experienced people, I feel like my learning is a different level. The learning is more like how to grow. And with the new people, it's more like I learn from them what new I can offer to my clients. So it's a blend of both. So you should not be like, oh, I should only talk to senior people, or I should just talk to like managers. Oh, he's the director. No, I don't think I can talk to that person. I'm just an analyst, or I'll just start my career. Never think like that. Any person you are fascinated, you are motivated by the LinkedIn, send them a hi. Every person is very welcome, and I think Canada is one of those countries where I've seen people are not like, they're very welcoming. They are very, I would say, they have a very friendly nature. They would not be like, no, we don't want to talk, or won't reply to you or ignore you. If they're going to see a message, they're going to reply to you. So make sure how you do your start, that's very important. So I think these places will really help you. Just don't hesitate in sending, and never think like that, oh, what will that person talk to me, I just started my career, I don't even know that much. You don't know how much you know. Honestly, the more I talk to new people, I feel like, all especially these you guys, you all, like people from school, I feel like I just have so much more to learn. That's what I always see, and I always seek for learning from all the new grads. And so I would say that just go send a hi, it won't harm any, like it won't harm anyone. So LinkedIn, and then webinars, and then meeting people like online, or your school old friends, seniors, reach out. Just say a hi. I think that's the key.
That is so true, and completely agree. Once again, and definitely, for there are so many opportunities to connect with people. LinkedIn being one of the very powerful tools, and also the coffee chat that also reminded me of the countless of coffee chats I've had in the past. And gladly that we have some platform that's also available. For example, Commentor, the platform that we specifically are providing for students to have those meaningful connections with the industry professionals, and from some of the people that you can also book the free time with them. So it's definitely a really, really great opportunity and platform to make those meaningful connections as well, and all those conversations. So completely
I
agree.
think, yeah, with Call Mentor, one more thing I felt like that wasn't there when I started my career in Canada or in India. That brings you with people from different companies. It's just not one for like, consulting, right? Or not just from one side of the industry. There's a blend of different side of industries, right? And they all are working. They are in the industry. They are not that, so they know exactly what's happening inside. So if a person is interested in data side of things, or wants to go in a consulting company, or wants to go in a proper programming company, they can actually see the different mentors that we have to offer, and then like how what Call Mentor has to offer, and then they can select the right fit for like right person whom they're the career path they're looking for, and then they can have a free session. That's the beauty. Like you can have a free session, first call, and then from there I think you can decide what you want, and then you can have these free sessions with different people from different industries. So that way you also get a clarity that, okay, maybe this does not interest me that much, this interests me more, and then so on, right? So I think that that's a very great thing that Call Mentor has to offer, which is very impressive and was not there when I started my career. So it's great now. Yeah.
That's that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Mhm.
And I have two more questions, and then we will turn to the audience to see if they have any questions. My first one is also related to the job search, for especially for our new graduates and students. When it comes to the resume and the cover letter, especially if they're looking for consulting roles, what are the tips would you like to share with our audience, so to help them to stand out from the crowd?
So I think the key is to be concise and focused. That's my first thing. Tailor your resume and cover letter to the consulting role you're applying for by highlighting relevant skills, like whether it's a teamwork, problem solving, or specific technical skill upskilling, right? Like the what you are upskilling yourself in, or the skill set that you have. Use matrix where you can, like, improve process efficiency by 20%. So when you use these kind of terminology in your resume, and I know you might be thinking we are just fresh out of school, we have not done something, but you can put it like in a way that you created a project, and that project can be maybe like some kind of project that is doing some kind of putting a positive impact. So say it in a way like, as I said, like improved efficiency by 20%, or this tool can save your time by 40%. So use these kind of terminology in your resumes, because that's really catchy. I think HRs and different teams, when they're like the recruiting team and the hiring managers, when they read these kind of terminology in the resume, they really find that, okay, this person understand what we are looking for from an industry standpoint, or from like they understand the business side of things. Like, this particular thing, you created this project, what's the output, what will happen of doing that project. So these kind of terminology like puts you gives you a more like a step ahead from the rest of the crowd by putting it in this way. So and so demonstrate your impact by using these kind of things, and also showing that you understand the industry or company by personalizing your cover letter. That is really important. So if you just create one resume and start sending it out to all of the company and not writing a cover letter, that does not add your personal touch to it. So I always say a personal touch to every company that you apply for is really important. And how can you do that? Is by basically making your resume relevant to that particular role. And second thing is creating a cover letter where you actually show how much you know about the company basically, and how you like what motivates you to apply technically, right? So customize your cover letter in a way that it just says what you're feeling and why you're applying, that it pass on your message via that. And one golden rule, please keep in mind, don't bluff in your resume. Please don't, because we can very quickly understand who's writing the positive and who's writing the negative. If you have not had, if you don't have hands-on experience on a technology, be very confident in saying that. If you say that I know the technology but I don't have hands on, nobody's going to judge you, because nobody expecting you to know it in advance, right? Because you will learn when you start working. So be as honest as you can, and that's the beauty. I mean, if you're honest, you're hardworking, I think you don't need anything. So don't at all bluff in your resumes. So that's a golden rule that I always go with. So yeah.
That's such a great tip, and especially for students, don't brag your resume and try to show your authentic self. And my second question, actually, I do see we have quite a few questions in the chat. Actually, the first two questions from Derek are related to my last question. I'm just going to kind of combine them together. So it's related to the interview. What are the soft skills or some of the behaviors do you think uh, for employers that they would be focusing on when interviewing the new graduates or the fresh students, young professionals? And also, would you encourage candidates to ask questions during the interview?
So I would not say ask when a person is talking. So for example, whenever interview happens, it's always like you start off with your introduction. Always be don't use a lot of fillers, and don't be super fast when you are explaining yourself. And when you're talking to the person in front of you, give them that space so that they have enough time to complete their sentence. Listen to so because it's always good to be a good listener, right? Because if you're listening properly, then only you can answer all the questions the interviewer is asking, right? So give your introduction. That's your time. That's the time you can go ahead and talk about yourself. That 5 minutes, 6 minutes, or 2 minutes, whatever is the time slot that you have. First, give your introduction properly, like tell and make sure your introduction is very crisp, right? It is not all over the place. So always prepare an introduction about yourself in a way that you're highlighting all the major points, and you're conveying the message, right? You're telling them that what's your background and what you're capable of doing in the future, what interests you more, like something like that. Just structure it in a very good way, and then give the interviewer some time to basically grasp that information and think about the next question. Always give that enough time for them to finish their sentence, because I've seen like people are like they are saying the question, and they're asking the question, and in between the person starts saying. So never do that. Never cut them. First, let them finish. And once they're done, always greet them by saying, "Thank you so much for your question. And this is what I feel." So always do it like that. Be respectful. And I have observed many people, it's not that they're being upfront and they're replying back. So like sometimes they're like, "Do you like doing something?" Right? And you just reply, "No." That's not the right way of saying it. It's like, "Thank you for your question. I do understand the so say for example, do you like going out?" Very basic one. The interviewer asks you, "How do you like going out?" And you'd be like, "No." Obviously nobody's looking for that kind of answer, right? You can just put it like, "Yeah, going out is it's a great thing, you meet people, but I am more like I like staying home and reading books, and so I'm not that outgoing." This is a way you can reply to a question, right? So those are few of the things that you have to keep in mind. If a technical skill you don't know about, just tell them decently like, I know a high level about it, but I don't have hands on, but I will be really interested in learning more about it. That's a different way of saying it. So there are different way of saying those things in a positive way. Sometimes a negative, or I would say a negative statement can also be said in a positive way. So you have to always see the half glass filled rather than putting it like a half glass empty, right? So those are the few things I think you have to keep in mind. You have to be enthusiastic. You have to be motivated that yes, you're excited about the opportunity. It's not like you are like, yeah, whatever, something will happen. Yeah, I just saw the opportunity, so I applied. Never say that. Even if you saw the opportunity and you applied, don't ever say that to the interviewer. Always put it like, I saw this posting, it was very relevant, and I felt like it matched my skill set, so I thought of applying it. So, there are way of saying different things in an interview, and don't. And if you, I mean, I've observed that people when they get nervous, they start saying like, they just start saying in a different tone. It's not that they are being, sometimes you come across as rude or something, but just they're nervous. So the best thing to do is before your interview, have a glass of water with you, and whenever you feel like you're getting nervous, what I do is I sip one. I just slip a little water and I relax myself and then I speak. Nobody is going to judge you if you take your time. Nobody. People think that, oh, if I do that, I might look distracted. No, everybody know that you guys are nervous when you're giving the interview. So these are few tips that I do it when I am talking to people. I still get nervous when I'm talking with the clients, and so I always keep my water. Or if I am like little more than nervous when I'm talking to the VPs and stuff, then I always keep, like, I always relax myself. Whatever way works for me. So something might work for you. So do those things. So yeah, these are few tips that I do. So just sharing the same.
Super, super helpful. Thank you so much for sharing. And on the relevant topic, is there any
Mhm.
question that you think would help the candidate stand out? Because sometimes people that they're not sure, should I ask questions or I don't know if that's the right question.
You should always ask questions. But at the end, always after an interview, the interviewer is going to ask you, do you have any questions for me? That's your spot. That's when you ask all your questions and be like, and if you don't understand something in the middle way, for example, they're asking you a question and you did not understand, maybe because of the accent, maybe it's a word that you don't know, or anything like that, you can always respectfully tell them, can you please rephrase your question, or can you just say that again, or I beg your pardon, or like, there are different ways of asking. So then, if you don't understand a question, just don't assume things and answer, because that will be wrong. If you don't understand the question, ask them. First, understand what they're asking and then reply. Don't just jump to reply without understanding what they're saying. So those kind of
Mhm.
questions are always welcomed in between the interviews. But if you have questions about the company, what are the next steps on how you can grow and things like that, keep that for the end, because sometimes those questions are answered towards the end. Generally, what are the next steps? How did the company work? Because these questions generally interviewer answer, or they keep it to the last. So those questions will come, or the answers will come. So if still they have not said that, then at the end you can ask them.
Mhm. Yeah, those are some great key tips of questions. Thank
Hmm.
you, and thank you for your questions, Derek. And we have another question from Alejandra. So Alejandra is asking, how did you get your first job in consulting? I think we covered that. And the more importantly, what are the challenges that you were facing?
So if I understand this question, is it Derek who asked this question?
Alejandra, so that's
Alejandra. Okay, so if I
Alejandra.
understand this, what challenges did you face? What do you mean by while finding a job or while working in a company? Like, what does challenges refer to?
I guess based on the questions was
Mhm.
phrased, it was more focusing on when you just started your first job in the tech
Oh,
consulting, were you facing any
okay.
challenges?
Right. Now I understand it. Okay. So she's talking from a consulting standpoint. Okay. So I was coming from a product-based company and moving into consulting was a little challenging for sure, because the culture is different, right? You are sometimes you have so much work, and then sometimes you don't have work. Sometimes you're on bench. By bench, I mean like you don't have a client assigned to you yet. So you are in a state of like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I don't have a client. My friends have a client. So those kind of mentally stressing things. So when I started my job in PwC, the first 1 month I didn't have, I was on bench because I came when I joined the client, the SOW is basically when we were trying to sign the work with the client. So that was not done. So till the contract is signed, you don't go to the client to work for them. So I didn't understand that time. So I was like, why all my friends on a project and I am sitting idle? But you have to understand, if you're on a bench, that's a golden period, because you can upskill yourself the most. Because once you're on a client, upskilling gets a little difficult, because you have to manage client and yourself. So what I did that time was that 1 month I upskilled myself on getting certified. So I got certified in some of the technologies I knew my client would be using. So that was one. So that was challenging for me. And the second challenging part was the way the whole cultural thing is, right? You're doing one thing for 3 years, 5 years, how long you're with a product based company. But with consulting, now you're doing architectural thing for 3 months, then your project ends, and then you might be doing visualization. Then you might be doing data engineering, or you might be doing something else. So you should be prepared that with consulting, you're not doing the same kind of work over and over again. It's not the same thing. The beauty about consulting, which I love, is like it's not monotonous. It's not the same thing that you're doing again and again. It's basically a blend of different industries that you work for. You learn so much about different industries and you learn different technologies. So it's not always the same. You have a project for 1 year, maybe after 1 year you can move to a different client. So it depends about the tenure that you're put on a client, basically. So I have worked with
Mm.
30 clients so far in 5 years, almost 30 plus, I would say I've worked for, and I have enjoyed and I've learned so much about them. So that was challenging when I started, because I was like, oh, I just started. So I got very familiarized with the client data. I'm doing so amazing. And then suddenly I moved to a different client. So it's a kind of like the first time when it happens, you're like, oh, I was doing so great. Now I could have done something much better. Now it's a different industry altogether. That's challenging initially, but then eventually you just start enjoying it. That was another challenge that I felt. So yeah, I think those were the two major ones that I faced. Yeah.
Mm. I guess also to be adaptable and to be able to adjust to different environment. It sounds
Yeah.
really, really, I wouldn't say hectic, but it's also
Mhm.
very, very exciting that you get to work on different projects.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Alejandra just mentioned that it's very, very great, and thank you so much for sharing.
Thank
So
you. Yeah.
I guess we have one last question from
Mhm.
also Derek. Derek is asking, how can candidates effectively present their experience and skills on the resume to capture the attention of HR and pass the
Mhm.
first round?
Yeah. So how I do it, and it has worked for me. When I also read resume, I don't like too wordy resumes, because it's so much to read. When we have like 50, 60, especially the HRs or the recruiting team, when they're going through the resume, they don't have one resume to review. They have 50 plus resumes to review. So what I suggest is start off with the introduction about yourself, that what you have done and how what makes you stand out from the rest of the rest of the people. So maybe something like an introduction about yourself in the first, like a bio kind of a thing, first 3, 4 lines. Then talk about as technical and functional. So create pointers and be like functional skills, and then you mention about teamwork, and use these kind of work. You can use chat gpt to find what are the top words that's being used in resumes. That's a pretty good way of researching. So do your research and try and find all the good keywords, because keyword is something that basically picks your resume. So use good keywords for your skill sets. So functional can be like good comm skills, and then team build, or like a team player, or things related to that. And in technical skills, enter all the technical things, like SQL, data engineering, or like I would say put it like a technical, and then in that have a blend of tools, and what like data engineering, visualization, these are the categories. And then on the tool, you can mention all the tools you're familiar with, right? So those can be then the second section. Then the third section can be your experience. Obviously you are from school, so in your experience, if you did any internship, that would come. Or if you have sorry, or if you had done a project, that would come. So make very clear bullet points where it will be like name, what is the name. So for example, if I'm putting my experience for X client, I will be like the client name or the industry name, what was my role, what was the tool used on that project, and then to explain what I have done on that project, I use bullets, so
Mm-hmm.
that it's easy to read. If you write paragraphs, nobody has that much time to read paragraphs. So it's faster. So use that. And then towards the end, you can mention about all your awards, recognition, and your education. So you can have your education as one, and then all the certifications that you have done. That is also very important. And then the final touch is adding your LinkedIn profile and keeping your LinkedIn up to date by adding all the certification you did. You're connecting with people because your LinkedIn shows how proactive you are. So that's the last. So with all these details, I think that would really help. And also adding a picture also puts forward a great impact, I've seen. So just a small picture on the left, that also helps you create a very professional resume.
That's very, very practical. Thank you so much for sharing. And speaking of the resume review, we are also planning to have some live sessions of resume reviews.
Mhm.
Maybe also first expand to the live mock interview. So if any of you in the audience are interested in, feel feel free to follow us on LinkedIn or Facebook. We will be posting those session information in the future. So, okay, we do have one last question, and it will be the last question for the session for today. But if the audience you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to further relate back to Amrita and then share it back with you. So, William is asking, "Hi, Amrita, any certificate that you would recommend for getting a data-related consulting role?"
So I would say if you're doing visualization for Power BI, it's PL 300 that you can get certified with. Then if you're doing a data engineer side of things, you have a lot of like DP 600, I guess. I think DP 600 is for Fabric, and then there is 203. DE 203 is I'm not 100% sure it's DP or DE, but you can check. It's data engineering 203, I believe. That is for your data engineering side of things. So you can get all these Microsoft certification because Microsoft certification has good relevance. So you can get certified on Microsoft front. And if you want to upskill on Python, as you know, Python does not have its own as such certification, but there are other certification that you can go through like Coursera or data camps and things like that. So there are tons and tons of things. I would always recommend Udemy, like Coursera over Udemy, because in Coursera you have to do the quiz to go to the next round. Whereas in Udemy, you can just start and stop, and everybody knows that it's not always important to go through the quiz to get the certificate in Udemy. Whereas in Coursera, you have to do the classroom videos and pass the quiz to get the certificate. So you cannot just bluff there, right? So I was always find Coursera more reliable when I'm seeing candidate rather than Udemy. Udemy is good for learning, but from a certification standpoint, I will always recommend Coursera. So these are few of the certifications that you can do, so that might help. So yeah, but Microsoft is one of the best certification, like if you can get that. And then yeah, so those would be my recommendation.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. And okay, William also said thank you so much for and he likes Udemy as well. That's also great to know. Well, I guess that's all the information for today. And also as someone who worked in the industry for a while, I am so happy to hear all the information that you share with us tonight, Amrita. And I can definitely testify that those are definitely the super, super valuable firsthand information that our audience are learning today. So thank you so much once again to
Before we
share.
end, just one quick thing, just before I forget.
Uh-huh.
Just a quick note, Capgemini will also be doing campus hire this year. So we might be coming to the campus. It should begin from 1st November. There is going to be, we will be going to colleges, so keep an eye on that. And that would really be helpful for you all. So just like one piece of information, just wanted to float. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
I am sure that after the session, you will get a lot of LinkedIn requests from probably from
For
the
sure.
audience.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much once again. And also feel free to follow us on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Instagram, and also feel free to use Commentor, the platform register to book sessions, free sessions or paid sessions with the mentor that you're interested in. We have the full tutorial and also the session is recorded for today, and we'll be sharing with you all after the session. Well, thank you so much once again. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you, Amrita.
No worries. All good. It was nice meeting you all. Take care,
Nice
everyone.
to meet you. Bye.